And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I could never do that. And I'm too old. I've missed the boat. You know, it's too late for me now. All these thoughts started coming. I did all the distractions, and that was my focus. It was to improve myself. That was my goal. I was going to reinvent myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a process of reinvention. Yeah.
Actually, prior to applying for it, my husband and I were going through an IVF rounds, and we were going through some struggles with that. Okay. And I just got to a point where I suppose I felt like a failure at that stage. New beginnings, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to reinvent myself now, and I'm going to work on myself, because I don't like where I'm currently at. I don't like the patterns I'm seeing. So I changed, I use that as a compass, as my own compass, as to what I need to work on. Or when I feel that fear come up, or any sort of anxiety, I'm like, that's something I need to work on. And then that's when I then jump in.
Hopefully that's not the truth anymore. So how did you go from, no, I'm too old to be there, to the point that I'm going there?
Welcome to Shaking Angles, insights, struggles, failures and learnings. The world from different angles.
And here we are in another episode of Shaking Angles with Sarah Sandas. Thank you, Sarah, for coming today. How are you?
I'm good, really good, thank you.
Before I start saying anything, please, Sarah, tell us a little bit about you.
A little bit about me. So firstly, I want to start with, I'm actually originally from a small country town, rural New South Wales. A small town, about 40,000 people. I grew up there.
Which town is it?
Orange.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Orange. It's a very picturesque, actually, town. It's very pretty. I love the place to grow up, that's for sure. Yeah. I grew up there, and during my time there, I actually started off in Air Force Cadets. So when I was in high school, I joined the Air Force Cadets for about 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So
were you attracted to that, or what made you go into that area?
Back then, I always I was interested in the Air Force. It was just something I gravitated towards being part of the Royal Australian Air Force. It was just one of my goals at the time. And I decided to join the Air Cadets. Just on my own accord. My parents didn't push me into it or anything like that. It's just something I wanted to do.
It was natural.
I wanted to learn a bit more about discipline, focus, and some leadership skills as well. And
interesting.
Yeah.
And look, I think most of people I know that they're being in the Army or Air Force or anything like that, they definitely are really good at leadership, discipline, really good with discipline. So did you actually got to get that skill? How did it go? How was the experience?
Yeah, it was an interesting experience actually. When I first started, there was a lot of drill, so a lot of marching.
Okay.
We learnt a bit about aerodynamics, so we touched on that as well. There was a lot of marching. That's just one of the things I remember, and polishing my shoes, spit polishing my shoes, making sure, I could nearly see my face in them. They had to be, mirror shiny. Spending hours doing that after school.
Wow.
Making sure, I had the proper creases in my uniform. There was so many,
And what was the biggest struggle that you felt while being there? At least for you, like a woman. Because sometimes I think that area, for us, it could be a challenge. How am I going to be there? So did you feel a struggle while being there, or how was in that area?
It was quite intimidating. I think the time when I was most intimidated when we actually stayed at Williamtown Air Force Base. It was great. I got to have a taste of what it'd be really like to live on an Air Force base. So I was there for a few and during that time, we did a lot of training. Some of the great highlights is, we got to get up close to F-18 Hornets. We got to go into a flight simulator and give that a try.
Wow, how cool.
Got to go in a military helicopter over Stockton Beach. There was some amazing highlights that I remember. But someone on course told me, because I started to get a little bit uncomfortable with some of the training that I was doing. And that was actually teaching a class about a certain weapon that we, been shooting a few weeks prior. I had to teach a class about all the parts of that weapon, and from memories, it was a Bruno .22. And
no idea.
And I remember I just had so much fear and anxiety. I was like, oh my gosh. I remember I did end up doing the class. I pushed myself, but there was a few pushbacks. And one of the other ones was someone told me on course, you won't get far as a woman in aviation. It's going to be a hard path for you. And I think because I had so many obstacles and challenges and I was very young and impressionable, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
So we could say it was like a combination of things, because also you weren't comfortable with certain classes, which I guess was because it was kind of not violent, but for example, when it's guns and things like that, is something that it will be connected in our brain, like to the violent part or something, like if, at some point, if you are getting trained to it, you have to be prepared to use it at some point, I guess.
Yeah.
And then plus this person, I think that, which is something that, how do you feel about it?
I guess it was just a moment of, I put it in the too hard basket. I just thought, no, I can't do this. It was self-doubt. When I look back now, there was a lot of self-doubt. It was about my confidence. That's what it was more about. It wasn't about the tasks.
Yeah,
It was about doing things that I've never done before.
And sometimes we need that confidence. But no, look, it's sad that it's easier to find people to tell you that's not going to be a good path for a woman. If instead of telling you, you know what, you can do it.
Yeah.
You will definitely be able to do it. If you want to, if something you like, you will definitely get as far as you want. That's not the reality.
Yeah. And I gave up on that dream because of that one person that told me that. And it would have been years down the track. There's actually a place near Williamtown where you can view some of Australia's most iconic aircraft, and it's on the outskirts of the Air Force base there. So I visited there on a holiday and I thought, I'll go past this place. It looks really interesting. And I went there, and it's the first time I'd been back to that Air Force base since I gave up on the whole idea. And I remember having a look at the aircraft and just, it took me back, and it was great. And then I saw these steps going up to this deck, and I thought, I'm going to see what's going on up here. So I went up the stairs and I could see the runway, like a part of the Air Force runway there. And I started watching the planes take off, and I started to think, gosh, like, what if I had stuck with that? Where would I be? And I remember I had this feeling of loss and a bit of disappointment and regret. And I remember just thinking, wow, my life could have been so much different. Yeah,
it's true. But, well, I believe the universe has everything at the right moment and the right opportunities. And maybe sometimes we're not happy with our decisions, but also it was for a bigger reason that maybe at this moment sometimes it's difficult to see, but at some point you will see it, maybe, hopefully. And look, after you finish the Air Force in that area, where did you go? What path did you take? Actually, we want to get where you are right now.
So what happened is I ended up moving to Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah, so from Orange to Sydney, I just felt the need to explore. I felt like there was just more, and I want to see more and experience more. So I took the plunge and started from scratch and tried to forge my way in Sydney.
How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, it would have been about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And then I believe you studied here business, right?
Yes. So when I first moved to Sydney, I studied a Bachelor of Behavioural Science.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Yeah, and I studied a Bachelor of Business, which I graduate from this year.
So it's impressive, your journey, because you've been in the Air Force, a Bachelor's in Behavioural Science and in Business. And how I know you is as a businesswoman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see your spirit. You are very entrepreneurial, a person who's always after new challenges. And now you are taking on in the new challenge, Mrs. Galaxy Australia.
Yes, that's my next challenge.
Wow, look, it's amazing. And that's why we definitely have to share your story, because you've been across so many different areas, like challenges, and you have a wealth of knowledge and a journey which is rich from different points, different perspective, that definitely we want to hear about it. Because imagine, like, from the Air Force to the Mrs. Galaxy Australia. How is this experience now? And you have 360 views.
So Mrs. Galaxy Australia, that gave me a newfound, I suppose, confidence within myself as a woman. So the background to that milestone is I was actually, prior to applying for it, my husband and I were going through an IVF rounds, and we were going through some struggles with that. Okay. And I just got to a point where I suppose I felt like a failure at that stage. I couldn't conceive, I couldn't provide my husband for child, my family, grandchildren, and it was really hard. As a woman, I felt like a failure at the time, and it took a while to kind of get through that.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, look, I imagine, I haven't been in your position, but it might be something hard, difficult to get on. And I guess always we have to feel it, get it through, and then recognize it will be at the right moment, in the right way, how it's meant to be for us.
100%.
Because that's another thing. We've grown in this society where we've been involved with the standards and ideas and how it should be, because definitely something that, and I hope it's okay for me to share this with you, but you're not a failure because you're not conceiving, and no woman can be a failure because of that. It's only like the life maybe is meant to be different for us if we are in a different pathway. But I think touching in that topic, we have to support each other and now share the idea, like, if anyone is being through on that situation, you're not a failure.
100%. It took me a little while to work that out, because it's the first process. It's a project. It was like the first thought that I clung on to. I just went through the motions, and I had to come to terms with everyone has their own timing and their own as to how they want to overcome it.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, okay, I can keep, staying in this headspace, or I can think about this completely differently. So I changed my perspective.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's basically a shake-up that you have in your life that make you rethink and change the mindset that you have at that moment, right?
Yeah. It did. And during that time, it was really tough, and I just thought to myself, I can be forever in this struggle, or I can just look at my life in a different way. It's not going to be the way that you planned it, Sarah. It's going to be different.
All right.
And, my husband, of course, he come to terms with that as well. And we had to shift our perspective. And during that time, of course, my confidence was really low. I went to go see a friend in a pageant, I remember, and I watched her. And I went to the pageant. It was my first pageant I'd attended. And I remember... As
a contest? Or just like a attend? Okay.
Yeah, it was a contest.
Okay.
Yeah. It was actually Miss Grand Australia. And I remember being there and thinking, wow, this is amazing. It's like a celebration of women and their confidence. And, it was more just about beauty. It's more about their inner beauty as well. And it's about the community work and the charities they support. And there was so much more to it than what I originally...
what we see, right? Like, always is a lot behind of it. Like, sometimes we think, it's just a contest. It's only, beautiful women sharing or measuring themselves with each other. But it's not like that. It was good that you got to see everything was behind of it, and how it's been for you that experience within the contest. So when you went there to the Miss Grand, that you realized that it was much more than a beauty context because it was the charities? What else did you find?
It was just a shift. It was a shift in thinking. And I, admired the girls, and I just thought they were absolutely amazing to get up there on stage and walk that catwalk with, so much confidence. And I thought, wow, that'd be great to do that. And I remember speaking to my friend afterwards, and I said, I don't know how you did that. I could not do that. I remember saying that to her. There is no way. I said, that was amazing. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I could never do that. I'm too old. I've missed the boat. It's too late for me now. All these thoughts started coming to my mind.
The troubles, and also again connected to the standards of what we have been listening since we were little. Like, you have an age to achieve something. If you're going to be Vietnamese, you have to be like 19 years old. Yeah. Thankfully, that's not the truth anymore. And how did you go from, no, I'm too old to be there, to the point that I'm going there?
I knew I had to make a change in my life. I was in a rut at that stage, and I knew I had to step up. Otherwise, I was going to continue staying in the same place, and I didn't want to be there anymore.
Okay. Sarah, when you mentioned something about the mindset change that you made, and you said, like, enough, I have to change something. Was there something that made you realize that something needed to change, or it was like part of the process that you get to that moment where you realize, like, I have to change? And I'm asking this, let me give you the background of it. It's because sometimes we don't realize when we need to change something. And it's really good for you that it sounds kind of quick, the moment when you decided to change and find different challenges and go in different pathways. But sometimes we could spend maybe 10, 20 years in the same spot and regretting and, almost crying about the same thing. How a person can realize that they need that mindset change?
I feel like it's a lot about self-awareness. During my time when I moved to Sydney, I did a lot of work on myself. I read so many books. I listened to so many audiobooks, and I taught myself to change my way of thinking, get rid of them limiting beliefs. And the more I learned, the more I was aware of what was going on, what was holding me back. And the more you're aware of them weak points that you need to strengthen, when they do arise, you're like, I know what that is. And no, that's not going to control my life, that fear or that feeling.
Okay. So definitely the self-awareness is something key, because then how you're going to notice and realize that it's the fear what's controlling me, and I'm not going to allow it. Sometimes for us to recognize and see that moment or that aspect, I think is huge.
Yeah, I use that as a compass, as my own compass, as to what I need to work on. Or when I feel that fear come up, or any sort of anxiety, I'm like, that's something I need to work on. And then that's when I then jump in and go, let's just go right through this. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
my attitude.
So that's why you've gotten all the challenges that you wanted. You've been, because you could have more, of course. Okay, Sarah. So when you came here, that you say that you started reading all these audiobook or listening to the audiobooks and books and all that, do you reckon it was very productive for you? Time by yourself?
Definitely. I got rid of all the distractions, and that was my focus. It was to improve myself. That was my goal. I was going to reinvent myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a process of reinvention. Yeah.
Reinvention, new place, new beginnings. And I'm like, yep, I'm going to reinvent myself now, and I'm going to work on myself, because I don't like where I'm currently at. I don't like the patterns I'm seeing. So I changed my environment, then my friends started to shift, people are started hanging around. We've started to shift as well. Partners, like boyfriends, it was just a shift, a complete shift, because I was going around in circles. doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Okay.
So working on myself.
Yeah, no, and look, the environment is a very important factor. We don't notice how influenced we are and how affected could be, because it could be from a distraction, could be, well, usually it's distractions. And when we are in this or in an environment who is contributing in the goals that we have, same goals, or the patterns in the area where we want to go, then it's easier because we're surrounded by all the triggers and stimulations and reminders of things that we want to achieve.
100%. And I think one thing is I made a pact with myself not to be careful about the opinions and the advice that I was getting from people as well. Because one thing I also learned was sometimes people's opinions can be attached to their own setbacks or their own insecurities, for example.
Most of the time,
and you've got to be careful about which advice you take on. So that's another thing I learned as well. And that also altered the shift in my circle. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Usually the people give their opinion based on their focus, based on their perception.
100%. And you don't know what types of goggles that they're wearing.
Yeah, correct.
Exactly. You don't know how they're seeing the world. So it's a bit tricky sometimes, and you've got to trust your intuition as well.
I was going to exactly ask you that. Do you believe in your gut?
100%. 110%.
Have you believed in your gut always?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I've used that as guidance as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's good. Look, when I was younger, for example, dancing, I love dancing. And I stopped dancing because I was too old to do it. And I was like 15 years old. And that was an opinion from someone. And that's why it's so important. Like right now, I have the experience and I trust my gut now. But before, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about that, let's say 8 years ago when I arrived here to Australia, instead of finding a job, I wanted to start teaching salsa classes. And someone told me, are you going to teach salsa classes? And my reaction was like, that's right, I'm not dancing teacher or something. And I stopped it. And I said, sometimes we don't even notice at what point we're bringing on someone else's opinion.
Exactly.
And I noticed it like maybe 4 years after, and you're 100% right. It's very important for us to follow our gut, our intuition, and stick to what we want, because maybe from their point of view, maybe from their angle, it's not an option. It wasn't good, but they didn't even know me, how I dance and how I am, to make that judgment that it was going to be good or not.
Yeah.
And at the end, just have to give it a try and make the choice. But going back to now in the Mrs. Galaxy Australia that you have taken on and you make the choice on going there, tell me how it's been the experience, for example, with the extra, I guess, the charities, extra aspects that actually I don't know. Tell me about it.
Well, it's a great growth journey. It's amazing. Australia Galaxy pageants is just a fantastic platform. So there is a lot of philanthropy work, appearances, a lot of community service. It's just beautiful, the whole experience. Trying to raise money for your chosen charity. Okay. My chosen charity was Batia, which focuses on youth mental health. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's so rewarding, the whole journey in itself. And also I'm looking forward to forming some friendships as well during the week of finals, meeting some of the girls, because they're situated all around Australia. So haven't met them, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's going to be a really good experience.
Definitely.
Yeah. And look, when you do something with a major benefit for the community, look, there's something really beautiful that is behind of it. And it's going to be contributing, in not only to you as a person, because definitely you have grown, you are meeting new people, you are getting the confidence. But it's interesting as well. And now that I mentioned getting the confidence, I've always seen you as a confident person. Have you always, and I know I guess as normals, depending on the situation, sometimes we have a down moment. But most of the time, you've been confident, or have you done any specific work to get confident?
Yeah, I've been to a lot of conferences. I've also done drama classes as well with Dalo drama. That was to help with my public speaking skills as well and how I present on stage. That was very interesting. It was just constantly challenging myself. Practicing. And it's true. The more you do something, you know, it's like a muscle. You've got to keep working it. You've got to keep practicing, and it does. It gets easier. You get more experienced, and that's what I did. I just kept learning. I kept putting myself out there. Everyone has their own time, all in your own time. Everyone goes at different paces. Everyone has, you find out the way that works for you. We're not all the same. There's no, cookie cutter way on this is what you're supposed to do. I feel like everyone has their own way. It's just you. Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing that we should be noticing, because sometimes we see like someone else has done it in a specific way and then we try to do the same, and when it doesn't work, we don't say that technique or that way doesn't work for me. The easiest thing to say is I don't work, I'm a failure, it's me who's wrong, or it's me that is something missing is on me. But over time, I have also gotten to that point that we have to discover our own way.
100%. And it's about shifting your perspective about failure as well, because some people are so scared of failure, they won't even try. And one thing I learnt when I first moved to Sydney, I worked in aged care for a while, and I used to have a lot of conversations with the residents, and they used to tell me about their life, and I used to love hearing their stories. And I remember a trend with them stories. And one of the trends that I noticed, and one of the same sort of conversations we were having, was, I wish I had done that. I wish I'd done this way. Or if I had my time again. I used to hear that a lot. And they'd accomplished amazing things, don't get me wrong, but they still had regrets. And it got me thinking that I think regret is a lot worse than failing. Yeah. I would rather say that I gave it my best shot, tried, than to say I should have. You can learn from it.
And you get experience.
Exactly.
There is no way of losing.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, if you didn't do it well that time, regroup, work on it. What do I need to work on? It's all the clues are there. Yeah. This is what I need to work on. This is what didn't go right. Okay, regroup. What do I need to work on? Yep. Go back out. Do it again. Do it better.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Keep trying until you get it.
Don't give up. Yeah.
But it's easier to say than done.
100%. I know.
And look, I think I'm bringing that up because I was using that as well. Like I have to fail, doesn't matter. I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna do it. I have to do it. But I didn't notice when I was creating excuses to not to do it. And then it wouldn't be an excuse or a failure. It's because I didn't have this, and that's why I didn't do it. But one day, and that's why it's so important self-awareness, because when we sit with ourselves and we notice what we are thinking, then we notice I'm creating the excuse.
Yeah.
And I'm just fearing the outcome. And then when I noticed that, I said, I have to go through the fear and do it. And being there, just thinking about the fact of doing it, I was sweating. And then you notice it's real. It's real, the fear. It's real, like the excuses that I was creating, that I was just covering that up. Yeah. Look, I guess it's the process of being with ourselves and knowing ourselves, to go through all the fear and everything, to get over, and I guess not only achieve it, but at least do it.
Yeah, give it a try. And if it's at least you gave it a try, that's it. It might even lead you to another path. It might lead you another way, but you'll learn so much from it.
Correct.
Yeah.
While being in the pageant, so you are always confident, or is there any moments where you feel like, what am I doing here? I always do that. I'm like, let's give it a try. Let's go. And then when I'm there, what am I doing here?
Yeah, of course. I actually had that moment today when I did rehearsals. It's getting close now. And you can't. I don't think you always have to constantly work on it. Mm-hmm. And today, for example, I had rehearsals and I was practicing my walking and how I was going to present on stage. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's getting close now. And reality really set in and I started to feel all the emotions. But one thing about it, I was aware of all the emotions. And I'm like, okay, how can we get through this? And I thought to myself, practice more. That's what you need to do.
Wow.
So instead of just getting scared and freezing and thinking, oh my gosh, I was like, okay, why are you feeling this way? It's because you need to practice more.
Okay.
It's just like when you go to an exam, you're going to feel insecure about the whole experience if you haven't studied. But if you've studied and you've put in the work, you go into that exam with your head held high and you know your stuff. It's only when we don't prepare properly is when I feel like you get nervous.
Yeah. Well,
not all the time, but sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes it could happen, but I guess if you have done the work, you have to go through it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done your best, it will be the best result.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Correct.
Just give it a go. That's it. I'm in this for the experience. I'm in this help others as well to see me as an example that, you can do this too. Yeah, you're never too old.
Correct.
I thought at my age, there's no way I could be competing in a pageant.
That's inspiring. It
again,
is.
That's a perspective, isn't it?
It is, yes.
We're too old. And we think, what will others think? Oh, I can't do a pageant at my age. That ship has sailed. But to be quite honest, everyone has actually been congratulating me and they've been happy for me and my friends have been really great. Them beliefs were only in my head.
Imagine the quantity of women that they are just holding back that and forgetting about that dream only because they are too old and you are doing it. I think you are an inspiration for many.
Yeah, you're never too old.
Do you mind if I ask you, how old are you? And look, you share if you want only.
No worries. I'm 39. But in pageant land, it's the perspective is, a little bit different, I suppose. But what's great about Mrs. Galaxy is they have the different categories and they give you the opportunity to
everyone.
Yeah, to include everybody. Yeah.
That's good. That's amazing, to be honest. It's really good. No, and I wanted to ask the age only because for anyone who's listening, I think all women would agree with us in the same thinking. I'm too old to do it.
Yeah.
And how many things we are holding back because we're too old? It's not real. Have you changed any in that definition, I'm too old? Have you broken that belief in different areas or only in this one?
I would say in different areas. Yeah, definitely. If I want to do something, I just go and do it.
That's the right mindset and where we have to only do it and enjoy it, because at the end that's life about, like enjoying whatever we want to.
Yeah.
Look, I have had moments, something as simple as maybe going to a class, something new. Sometimes I could be telling myself a dancing class, rollerblading, something could be minor, and I have catch myself thinking I'm too old to do it. And the next minute is like, don't be silly. Let's go and do it.
I think sometimes we find excuses. If it's not going to be I'm too old, it will be something else.
Well, it's true. It's true.
That's the thing. You got to be careful as well that you're not self-sabotaging. That's another thing, because sometimes you can come up with a million excuses not to do something.
Correct.
And you'll find the one that you think that's the best reason not to.
It's true. And the mind is, we can't trust it.
No, it plays tricks, that's for sure. Yeah.
How do you embrace all your different parts? Like the business, women, now the Mrs. Galaxy, the wife?
I prioritize. So time with my husband, family, that is my priority. And it's just about organising yourself well and your time well. And when you are spending time, with your family or your husband, to make sure that you're in the moment, because sometimes you could be spending every day with them. Your head's somewhere else, or you're not spending that quality time. So I think it's about when you are spending time together and you do have that time scheduled together, it's, make the most of that time, be in the now, really embrace it, that family and time with your spouse. So that's
very important, right? Like,
yeah,
I find myself sometimes being there but not being present.
100%, yeah. There's a difference in spending heaps of time with someone and actually spending time with them and being present.
Correct.
quality time. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. What do you want to give us from your world to our world?
3 takeaways. I would say give yourself the time you need. Work on yourself, educate yourself, continue to keep just developing yourself and becoming more self-aware about what you need to improve on and where it all comes from. So any setbacks that you have, why? Where's this coming from? Understand yourself more. Give yourself that time and that love. You're worth, getting to know. I feel like sometimes we don't know ourselves completely. And if we don't understand ourselves, we can't work on ourselves to improve.
Absolutely.
That's one of my big takeaways is, to give yourself that time. And I would say another takeaway would be live life with no regrets. Just if you want to do something, do it. Give it a try.
What I would want.
Yeah. Don't let fear of failure stunt your growth. You don't want to have any regrets later in life. You want to come out the other side of this just thinking to yourself, I really gave it my best shot and it was a great ride.
Yeah. That's right.
That's how,
keeping that experience and living it 100%.
Yeah, and just surround yourself with great people, love. Do one of the most rewarding experiences that I've been doing is volunteering in an aged care home. It is giving me more purpose in life. And I absolutely love it. It's so rewarding when I walk out of there after doing that. I feel fantastic. I've really made a difference. And giving back.
It sounds like it might be really rewarding. If anyone who's listening and they want to volunteer in this aged care, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a process because you've got to do the necessary checks and everything like that. But once you get through that, it's just approaching them. There's also websites as well, volunteer websites that you can go to, and there's so many opportunities of volunteering. So if not aged care and something else that you're interested in, definitely. Yeah.
Look, before we go, and thank you for the 3 takeaways. I'm going to summarize the 3 takeaways that you gave us, which is understanding ourselves, knowing ourselves, surrounding ourselves with love people, nice people. That's why you are here, and you are here, Rahul. Thank you so much. And the last one, living with no regrets. I think they're so powerful and important, and there is so much behind of them. It sounds simple, but at the same time, they're very deep. But before we go, the last question I'm going to ask you, who are you representing in the Mrs. Australia Galaxy?
So I'm representing my area, San Susie.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So all the girls are from all different parts of Australia. So, yeah.
How many girls in total?
Oh, gosh, I think my category, there'll be 11 girls I'll be competing with. Okay. But throughout the whole pageant, I think there's nearly maybe 60 girls.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly.
And when is going to be this hold up?
So Bankstown Sports Leagues Club, and that will be on the 4th of May, Saturday the 4th of May.
Very, very soon.
Yeah.
So wishing you all the best, and thank you so much for coming today and sharing with us your journey, your experiences, learnings, which we know is amazing that everything has gotten you to achieve all your goals and have new experiences and keep, improving and at the end getting new experiences. And as you said, living with no regrets.
Yeah, thank you for having me.